All right, hopefully we're good now. So today's lesson, it's actually January 4th. My computer's being kind of slow, but we are going to be working in 9.4. We're starting by finishing 9.3 from yesterday, though. So we just talked about our got it. Does anybody have questions on that? So we found out that the width, what we said is that the width has to be less than or equal to 4.5. Now, technically, this is not quite correct. Because could my width be -7?
No.
Could it be 0? No. So if we wanted to be accurate here, we'd actually have to say that 0 is less than what the width can be. So the width is more than 0, but it's less than or equal to 4.5. So to make this accurate, we actually have to write what's called a double inequality, because I use two inequality symbols. Now here's the trick when I'm writing a double inequality. They have to point the same direction. So I'd like you to write this down on your paper, the double inequality, and I want you to notate that these have to be the same direction. Like which way they point. Now they don't have to be the same symbol. So notice one of them is less than, and one of them is less than or equal to. That's fine, because they're both less than type symbols. 0 is less than W, and W is less than or could be equal to 4.5. So my width could be 0.0000000000001, but that's still bigger than 1, or bigger than 0. Sorry, so anything bigger than 0 works. It has to have a width to be a rectangle. Questions? So, the assistants make a rectangle with a length of 7.5 feet, at most 24 feet, so the width of the rectangle is what we solved there. This is what's crafty. Sometimes the answer is actually in following problems. Do you think that all values satisfy? So this answers this got it question. Because your width can't be a negative number. It can't be 0. So down here for the got it, if you want to just kind of point an arrow up to our double inequality, so it must be between. Yeah, my smart word being kind of weird. Must be between 0 and 4.5. You need to orient this really quick. Any other questions from 9.3? If I'm not looking, you can just yell at me if you have a question.
What's the last one? So we're not doing one?
Give me a second. Well, what we've done so far, does everything that we've done make sense? That's the main thing that I care about right now. So then, and we might come back to this one. It's just because I just shut it down. When you totally shut a desktop computer down, it takes some time to get back up and running and everything. I have pretty good confidence that we could solve all of these, and 9.4 keeps using these same skills. So let's skip these for now. We might come back to them. Let's go ahead and look at 9.4. I don't need to zoom 1,000 times. What? Alright, maybe using the smart board to zoom is not the best idea. Alright, so today in 9.4 we do a little bit more with our graphing, but how, if we look at this example, and the intro kind of gives it away, but if we look at this first example problem, how is this different than what we've been doing before? Manos?
Distributive property.
Kind of, right? So we could have to apply the distributive property. So what's different is now I don't just have a variable term and a constant term. I have a variable term and a constant term and something that multiplies both of them. So, like Monica said, I could distribute out the 3 and solve that. But is there another option for how I could do this. Anish, is that a hand or no? Okay. What do you think?
Could we multiply, divide by 3 on this side and divide by 3 on that side?
If we don't want to multiply, instead we stop multiplication by doing division. So here, because this is multiplying by 3, we can actually, instead of distributing, and please show this work on your paper, we can divide by 3 and divide by 3. That gets rid of the 3 out front, and my left-hand side just turns into P plus 5.8. Because I divided by a positive, my inequality symbol doesn't change. It just carries down exactly how it is. And the 28.2, if it was 282, 9, yeah, 9.4. Now remember, even though this value is negative, that doesn't have anything to do with your inequality flipping. When do we flip our inequality symbol?
When you're dividing or multiplying?
Alec?
When you divide or multiply by a negative.
By a negative. So this red number, because it was positive, nothing changes. Now, we only have one step left. Because think about this. If we had distributed, I would have distributed, that would have been one step. Then I would have gotten rid of my constant, that would have been one step. Then I would have gotten rid of my coefficient, that would have been another step. And I would have had at least 3 steps to do. Here, I did one division, and now, Julian, what's the last thing I need to do? Subtract by 5.8, 2 steps, and we'll be done. So this is the easier, it's not like right versus wrong. This is the easier way to solve these, is don't distribute. So now P less than or equal to, because I did not multiply or divide, I subtracted.
15.2.
Careful. Negative. 15.2. Now we want to graph this. How do I do my graphing process? The first step is fairly easy. Katia, what's the first step when we go to graph this?
Would you do the negative?
Yeah, find your point. So we got to put our point somewhere. So we put negative 15.2 on the number line, so we go and we find negative 15 would be right between. Negative 15.2 would be a little bit further down. Don't fall into the trap and try to come up. So we put our circle right there. Sam, what is the next thing that we have to think about?
If you have to shade in the circle.
If I have to shade it in or not. Do I shade it in?
Yeah.
Yes, because I have the or equal. Then the next thing I have to think about, Monica.
Which direction you go?
Which direction do I shade?
You go left because it's less.
Yeah, because it's less than, I go left. The other trick is if your variable comes first, the inequality symbol points to the direction that you shade. So my variable comes first, I know that I shade to the left because it's less than. We put an arrow at the end because it really goes forever. Now, a situation like the rectangle width, that would not go forever. We would have had to stop it at the 0. Solve the got it on your own. Again, there are multiple ways to do this. It's not right versus wrong. It's just what is your preference. There's a new tool I've never seen before. What? Guys, my old SmartInk thing is back. Now it disappeared. Alright, hold on. Haha, quicker way to capture. Okay, I'm happy. I bet you I had to restart my computer to make that happen. And I hadn't restarted it in forever. So if we take the process that we've determined is the easier method, Ashley, what would I do first here? Yeah, we get rid of this 231. We stop it from multiplying by dividing. on both sides. Now that gives me a little bit, it gives me really small numbers.
0.24242424242.
Yeah, so it's a repeating decimal, right? So I could write it as the repeating decimal. Or I could write it as a fraction. Did you get the same thing, Andrew? The 0.24 repeating?
Isn't it after you do the next step? Oh, no, it's still
So that's greater than Q minus 35. So were you trying to tell me what to do next? So then I add 35. But here's the thing, that 35 doesn't affect the repeating decimal. So now what we get is 35.24 repeating forever is greater than Q. Now here's the problem. My variable does not come first, so I either need to turn on my brain and think, or I gotta flip this around. So if I want my variable to come first, pick up the whole thing and turn the whole thing around. So put your Q first, but now my inequality is going to change direction, and then my number comes last. So instead of saying 35.24 is greater than Q, we can say Q is less than 35.24. Repeating forever, of course. So, Jeremiah, sorry, not Smith. Dom,
Yes.
can you walk me through how to graph this?
Okay.
The whole process?
Well, first, what I did was I looked at what we need to graph up, so I had to go to 35.24242 repeating forever.
So,
A little bit left of, or a little bit right of the 35.
a little bit right of this.
And gave it an open.
We're close.
Because it's not.
So it stays open?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we look here, and it stays open.
So it's not an answer. And then it says greater than 9, so you have to go to the right.
9. What do you...
Or greater than Q. So I looks like.
So this number is greater than the values I'm solving for. So let's think about some options. What number could plug in for Q where 35 would be greater than it?
35.23.
So let's be easier. So 35 would work, right? Or 20. Could that work?
Yeah.
Could 10 work?
Yeah.
So wait, you told me to shade right?
Wait, what? Oh, he told you left. When is left? Why would you go left?
See, he told me right.
I thought he...
So here's what's screwing you up, Dom.
I'm confused.
Here's what's screwing you up. You're looking at this symbol, and it points right, so you're saying right, right?
No, I'm saying 35 is supposed to be bigger than that. Oh, I flipped them. I said
So-
35 was the answer instead of
So 35 is bigger,
Okay.
but the problem is that value's bigger than everything that I'm allowed to use. So everything that I'm allowed to use is over to the left, because that has to be less. This is why we turn it around like this. I always advise that you write your variable first. The values that we're solving for, Q, are less than this number. Does that make sense now?
I was saying it as 35 was the answer instead of
Right, so are you good now?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions? Are we all straight on this? If you get confused, think about what numbers can work. These numbers should all be shaded, and they are. Here's our 35, it's shaded. Here's our 20 would be down there, it would be shaded. All of those would be shaded. I gotta get myself in the habit, though, of having to reach down and hit that second thing. All I care about is the clear ink, really.
I have the answer for the next one.
So take a minute. We already have our word situation. Highlight what's important. Write out your inequality. Solve it. So highlight what's important. Write out your inequality. Solve it. Gosh. By the way, this is why Apple is called Apple. The company originally was called Macintosh. That's a type of apple. That's where it kind of derived. Yeah, Mac. Their symbol of, they were called Macintosh. The Mac is abbreviated of Macintosh. Apple is like a nickname. So like the company's Macintosh. So, howdy, Miss Smith.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How about you? We're solving some problems with apples. You know, talking about Macintosh. I was telling them how Apple got its name of Apple based off the Macintosh company. I know, we're all hippy-dippy sitting on the floor here. All right, peeps. So we need more than 100, right? Whitney, what is going to help me get to more than 100 bushels? Like, what am I harvesting?
18 bushels of Granny Smith apples and 25 bushels of...
Yeah. So, and each of those are each day. And do I care about what my 100 bushels, like what type of bushels they are? No, I just need 100 bushels. So, how many bushels of apples are we getting each day is really what we need to think about. So I know that every day, pen color,
43.
every day we're harvesting 18 and 25. So then when I go to combine that, we get 43, either D times 43 or 43 times D, but that has to be greater than 100. So it still has to be greater than 100.
Why don't you put the orange because it is more than 100?
Does it say that you can sell at 100?
Oh.
He has to have more than 100. 100 is not more than 100. Jaslyn, to get our solution for D, what do we do here? Divide by where at? Both sides. And we know that 100 divided by 50 would be 2. So 100 divided by 43 is going to be more than 2. So it's going to be 2 point.
3, 2, 5, 5, 8, 1.
So chill, we're good with 3, 2. Because all this really tells me is how many days? 3 or more. So I need to wait. It will take me 3 days or more. Because I could wait more days and have more apples, but if I get greater than 2.3, now we could argue, well, I could go after like noon on the third day, right? So if I do 2.5, that's great. But we're going to talk whole days, entire days. You're either on the farm or you're at the market. Any questions? Yeah. If you go to the, like, and you can go to farmer's market. Most farms don't sell at the farm because not enough people would sell. So like, you know the Worthington farmers markets?
Yeah.
Those are farmers. Like my buddy used to work, like used to go sell his stuff there. He's out in California now, working on a farm out there. Actually, I'll see if I can find some pictures. But last year he came here, and you guys know about like the tiny home movement thing. People are making tiny homes. He bought a retired SWAT truck, like SWAT teams, like a box truck, and converted it into a tiny home. So he stopped by Phoenix last year to talk about like his farming and everything else. But yeah, he used to sell at the Worthington Farmers Market. That wasn't really, that was a friend of my dad's. But when you live life, you just meet people. I enjoy meeting people and getting to know them. And I'm also a project guy. So people that like to do projects, I stay friends with them. People that are boring, try the got it on your own. I bet you can solve this in 90 seconds or less, probably. Notice the use of an inequality there. I'll give you up to 90 seconds. Do you guys want the top shelf left back here? No, this is the middle shelf. Top shelf. Yeah. You want that? Because I was going to remove all of these shelves. But if you want the top shelf left, I'll leave it.
Because we're innovative.
really could care less about where you guys sit or how you sit, as long as you're focused and working.
So I can sit on the ceiling if it was possible.
Yeah, but it's not. So.
I wish it was.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole. We'll go too far.
Also, if you put like tape.
Or if you have fizzy lifting drink.
You get a mountain climbing kit and put it across the room so you can sit up there.
That would be cool.
So, Noah, that's almost 90 seconds. Noah, hey guys. Noah, which is me trying to politely tell you to stop talking if you're not Noah. What did you do first?
I added the 3 into this to the 1 and 4.
Yeah, we got to combine our like terms, right? So when we add our W like terms, what'd you get? 5 and 1/5 W is less than or equal to 26. Now at this point, there's some options of what we can do. What did you do?
I converted it to 5.2.
Ooh, you went decimal route. So that's one option, is we can do 5.2 W is less than or equal to 26. Did anyone go a route that was not decimal route?
26.
Yeah, we can also go improper fraction route. So we could go 26 fifths W is less than or equal to 26. Now, here's what's really nice about doing 26 fifths. Anyone see it yet?
26.
Watch what will happen. When we go to cancel out a fraction, how do I destroy or cancel out a fraction? I can multiply by its... Yeah, it's reciprocal or it's inverse. So we have 5 over 26. Over here, this can go over 1. I can do 5 over 26. What's going to happen to these 26s? They cancel, and we get W is less than or equal to 5. And Noah, when you divided by your decimal value, did you also get W is less than or equal to 5? Many right ways to get to Florida. Neither of these is better or right versus wrong. It's whichever you prefer. Any questions? All right, flip to the back. We need to find a mistake. Your friend is struggling with their homework. They have done this process, and you know that it's wrong because they got the wrong answer. You're like, bro, it's wrong. Trust me, it's wrong. So, your friend doesn't trust you, though, because, you know, your friend thinks they're smarter than you. So they're like, all right, show me where I messed up. So look at this process. We got to show our friend where is it that we messed up. Where did they goof up at? You've done goof.
What?
I just did the same thing. I'm like, who is that? Oh, so I'm just ordering sons. I just was like, ooh, it's maybe at the. Okay, so where? Hold on, we're gonna do like by we're gonna do silent, but we'll do show of hands. So if you think this is where the mistake is, put your hands up. What about here? Okay, what about here? What about here? Here. I feel like we have some people who didn't quite know. So I had some votes on the second step. Who wants to explain why you think there's an error? Andrew, what do you think is wrong there?
You're not supposed to do that because it was already subtraction and then you just added addition.
So they distributed, right? That they took the distribution process, but what they distributed was a negative 16. So negative 16 times the negative 3 would actually give us positive 48. That's actually right.
I think it's
Positive?
But that's still negative.
But what? What is still negative?
12 minus 16.
Yeah, so that's fine. This is still okay. Because the negative 16 times z would have been negative 16z, and that's what they have. So be careful with the distribution. The sign in front of the term goes with it. Anish? Sean, is that a hand or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean, what's up?
Do I say where it is?
Yeah.
It's the third to last.
Here?
Yep, yep.
What happened?
Oh, he was supposed to subtract the 60.
This 60 is positive. No, it's supposed to change colors. Sorry, change colors. This 60 is positive. How do we get rid of it? Subtract 60. 21 minus 60 would not give us positive 39. What would it give us? Negative 39. So off to the side, notate that's where they make their mistake. Now, here's the funny thing. Everything else they did is absolutely correct. This is what we're talking about, where one dropped sign screws up everything. Because now nothing beyond that is right, but we can fix it. So if that should have been a negative 39, they still actually flip their inequality accurately when they divide by negative 16. They turn the direction around because they divided by the negative. But this 39 should have been negative. So this answer should be positive. So the real answer would be Z is less than positive 2 7/16. So one drop negative can screw up everything for us. I wonder what the do something else is. Go ahead and try to find the mistake. What is do something else? Send to current page in Smart Move. Ooh, that's interesting. So there's no distribution here. So that's not going to be our mistake. Anyone find it yet? Ooh. Raise your hand once you find the mistake. And you can put it back down if you want once you like. I just don't want to move on until enough people have time. Did they accurately combine their like terms?
Yes.
Yeah, 3H, 5H, they accurately combined those, they got 8H. Did they accurately get rid of the constant value? So when they go to get rid of the 8.6, what would they do to get rid of a positive 8.6? Subtract 8.6. If they subtract 8. I think you get negative 32.
Yeah.
So that's also right. Did they accurately get rid of the coefficient?
Probably. Yeah.
What would they do to get rid of the coefficient?
Divided by 8.
They would divide 8, right? So they divide 8 here, divide 8 here. Negative 32 divided by 8 gives you negative 4. Sam? Why did they flip their sign? There's no reason to do that. Bro, you did too much work. This should be, so go ahead and cross this out at the bottom. That should be H is greater than or equal to negative 4. That inequality symbol never should have flipped because right here they divided by positive 8. And when you divide by a positive, the inequality symbol does not change. They would have had to divide by a negative in order for that to change. Now, here's probably what they thought and the mistake that I've seen before. We had a negative value over here. So they probably thought, oh, I'm using a negative. I need to flip. No. It's what are you dividing by? And that was a positive. Any questions on this? Why we don't turn our sign? Good. Last thing here. Let's try this final. Got it.
What's a counterexample?
A counterexample is something that proves them wrong. So if a student came in and said, hey, 2 plus 2 is not 4. I said, okay, give me a counterexample. They'd have to show me an example where 2 plus 2 does not equal 4. So if I tell you that division is not commutative, I can explain that by 4 divided by 2 is not the same as 2 divided by 4. You get different answers. That's a counterexample to prove that it doesn't work. So your friend says this solution is m greater than 2, or m is greater than 2. Julian, what would be the first thing that I would do to work towards solving this problem right here?
Divide both sides by 2.
Yeah, I can get rid of that 2 if I just divide both sides by that 2. So when I do that, I get m plus 3 is less than 5. Then I subtract the 3 from both sides. I get m is less than 2. Ooh, what's their issue? Direction of the sign. So you could say that direction is wrong. Alright, thank you guys. That is it for today. Hey, we will be doing 9.5 tomorrow, and we will be taking your mastery on Friday. Yeah, we're ready. You guys are ready. Chapter 9 mastery will be Friday.
How many chapters are there?
A lot, as many as we can get to. Because we just start going into Math 8, and we just get as far in Math 8
Which
as
chapter
we
is
can.
that starting?
Don't even worry about that. I'm doing some renumbering this year, so things will change slightly.